We're in Copenhagen and we're talking to Gethin Anthony, who I guess most people recognize as Renly Baratheon from Game of Thrones, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're talking about, I guess, sort of scientific internet murder mystery Cloud Chamber, which you're playing a part in. So first of all, tell us, what's your role in this? What are you playing?
I play Max, who's a DJ and sound engineer at a scientific institute. So in the day, he makes his money doing scientific research at a scientific institute, specifically involved with sounds emanating from the universe. But at night, he organizes parties and runs a pirate network, radio network, and is a kind of a rave DJ, and that's kind of who he is. He's like this kind of casual guy, and he's kind of dropped in this situation where there's a mystery kind of becomes apparent, and he's right in the middle of it, and he doesn't realize it, but becomes quite essential to that mystery, and yeah, that makes sense.
So, as far as I know, this is the first time you're involved in a video game?
Actually,
really?
Well, no, actually, I did work on I did some motion capture for a video game, but I don't think I'm supposed to talk about that. But it's like, as in it was a development thing. So yeah, I guess the first one that's going to be played by people, yeah.
All right. So, what's the difference working on something like this compared to like usual TV movies or theater, whatever you were doing?
Well, as far as creating a character and entering into relationships with other characters and working with the director, there are a lot of similarities. So we created the full cinematic episodes that will form part of the game. The difference is that the user or viewer, or I guess game player really, will have a lot more to analyze and a lot more to think about, and will be sort of analyzing what you do in all the more detail, because it forms part of the game to figure out who is lying to who and what's really going on. And so in that sense, it's kind of a lot more scary that that your betrayal of a character, portrayal rather, betrayal. That's Freudian. There you go. Your portrayal of a character will be analysed all the more closely, as it should. So that made it kind of exciting. I think that's probably the main difference. I think.
So is it a bigger challenge because you have to take account of things that normally might not be part of a take? Or
I think as an actor, you're always filling in the gaps. So you're always trying to figure out what's going to be shown on screen and what part of your history or your story with other characters won't be seen by the audience, but how important that is, or we call it backstory. Figuring out your backstory with other characters. On Cloud Chamber, that was all the more important because I guess the viewer will see less of the on-screen story and be figuring out more of it from other documents and diary entries, and so I guess we just had to fill in bigger gaps for us, especially Gwilym and I and Sarah and I, who Sarah plays Kathleen Peterson and Gwilym plays Tom the documentarian. We had to kind of figure out all the things that had happened in between each bit that you'll see on screen, and I think because it's a mystery and because of the way the game is structured, there's a lot more to fill in, and that was exciting. And that was when we did that with Fabian, the director, and Darren, the writer, and Christian, the director of the game. We all did that together and workshopped and figured it out.
In recent years, acting in video gaming has become a bigger and bigger part of video games, and has begun attracting bigger and bigger names, and you begin having like sort of stars and mainstay actors who specialize in it. And I guess you sort of let it slip before, but I was going to ask you, could you imagine doing more work in video gaming? Is this something that interests you?
Yeah. No, I absolutely could. The experience that I did have, I think it's fair to say, it was a motion capture experience, and the company that I was working with were experimenting with facial capture, and that technology is really coming on like in leaps and bounds, it would seem. And back home in London, Andy Serkis, who everyone will know as the actor, who's a fantastic actor, who plays Gollum in Lord of the Rings, one of his many amazing roles, but he really is the kind of pioneer of acting for the digital age. He's created this thing called the Imaginarium, which is a workshop for actors to learn the craft of acting in motion capture, which will be essential going forward because the games are getting more cinematic. The gameplay is getting almost cinematic. So it's really important that actors kind of, I guess, have as much experience as possible trying to act in a motion capture studio, which is different again from just acting in front of a green screen, it's like a green screen acting squared, if you can use a sort of mathematical formula there to figure it out, because you have to imagine everything, and it's so exacting because every move that you do will be put through a sort of digital interface. So it is a really exciting area of the of actors sort of future work, and yeah, I hope and believe that I will be acting in some form of gameplay situation, story-wise, but also the technology, acting for digital formats. You can see it happening. So yeah.
I imagine doing something like that is also more challenging because you don't have the costumes or the sets around you to help you get into character, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is standard. I like to call it the teddy bear's wetsuit. Like it's because they give it to you and it's like this big. I mean, it really is the motion capture suit with the they have different points on them. But I mean, it's tiny, and it's tiny because it has to stretch over every part of your body so tightly. So it's very revealing in every sense. And so yeah, so you're still in that, and they're like, oh, and you've got to imagine being, a cop or a soldier or and what's amazing as well is the little bit that I've learned about that part of the industry is there are amazing young actors and all age of actors really who've been doing it for years and are really skilled and sort of teach you as you go because they've been doing it for like years now. They are, fantastic guys. So there's a lot to learn about just all that imagination and how you use it, and also keeping what you do know how to do, connect to the material, and somehow fitting it in with, being in a sort of grid, wearing red lycra and with a camera on your head, It's great.
Just here, as the last question, Cloud Chamber is just about to launch. What else can we expect to see you in the near future?
Well, funnily enough, I shot right after doing Cloud Chamber. I came back to Copenhagen to shoot a film called Copenhagen, which is about a guy from New York who comes to find his family, his long-lost grandfather, and he meets a Danish girl, and they have a relationship, and it's kind of what the story is about. This New Yorker and this young Danish girl discovering Copenhagen, or her showing him around, and it's and so that's being entered into Sundance Film Festival at the moment. So that's the sort of the next movie thing, and then I did theatre this sort of the first part of this year, so obviously that wasn't recorded, so you can't see that, but it was great, so we're sort of looking forward to the next thing.
All right. Gethin, thanks a lot for talking to us.
Not at all. Thank you. Cheers, man. Tack. Thanks, man.